Check 1, 2. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shirley, Shabbat Shalom. Good to see you. You're the only one who gets her own special greeting. We begin this Shabbat as we do each Shabbat with music. On page 10, you'll see the words for Hine Matov. Please join with us.
Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad gam yachad. One more time. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad gam yachad.
I hope you received a song sheet when you entered.
We have very trusty
It looks like this. On one side it says stand up, and on the other side it says L'chuna Ranana. Turn it to the side that says L'chuna Ranana,
and don't stand up.
and sit down.
Right. L'chuni ranina, ya la 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 la, la Adonai, ya la 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 la, Naviyah, ya la 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 la, Etzor Yishenu, ya la 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 la. Let us sing out to God, the maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear our song. L'chuni ranina, ya la 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 la, la Adonai, ya la 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 la, Naviyah, ya la 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 la, Etzor Yishenu, ya la 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 la. For all of the wonders in all of God's light, we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. L'chuni ranina, ya la 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 la, la Adonai, ya la la. Naharia, ya la 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 la. Let's yishenu, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. One more time. Ya la 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 la.
We continue now on page 20 as we join together in L'Chadodi. When we reach the final verse, we will turn to the back and welcome the Sabbath bride and greet her and bow to her as we celebrate Shabbat together and welcome Shabbat. For now, page 20.
Ya la 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 לקראת כלה, ya la 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 בני שבת, לקבלה, ya la 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 לקראת אותי, ya la 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 לקראת כלה, ya la 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 בני שבת, לקבלה. Ya la 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 לקראת כלה, ya la 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 בני שבת, לקבלה. לקראת שבת, לכו ונלכה, יהי בכל הברכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. יא לה לה יא לה 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 לחדודי, יא לה 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 לקראת כלה, יא לה 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 בני שבת, Shabbat לקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורף קומי אורי, אורי אורי, שדברי Adonai, עלייך נגלה, יא לה לה, יא לה 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 לחדודי, יא לה 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 לקראת כלה, יא לה 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 בני שבת, בני שבת לקבלה. בואי ושלום, עצרת בלם, גם בשמחה ובצהולם, טוב ואמונה, עם סגולם, בואי חלם, בואי חלם, יא לה לה, יא לה 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 לחדודי, la la לקראת העולם. יא לה 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 את פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה.
Now that we've greeted the Sabbath bride, take a moment to greet your neighbors. Turn to the people in front of you or behind you or next to you and say Shabbat Shalom. Cantor and I are trying to figure out why everybody's on Cantor's side tonight and my side is so...
It's like a wedding.
Cantor's side of the family seems much bigger tonight than my side of the family. I'm not quite sure, other than, but we got Shirley, so that counts for a lot, you know? There must be a reason. I don't know. Thank God Shirley did. We continue in our prayer books on page 26. We join together for Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
ילמד יברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן הקריב ימרו. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתעשה ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה וימרו. Amen.
We rise in body and spirit as we turn the page and join together in the Baruch Hu.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Do you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
We continue together on page 31 at the top. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך ארצם תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו לאורך ימינו, ובהם נגן יומם ולילה. ועבדך תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. 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 ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
On page 39, we continue together in the middle. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. B'chamocha ba'elim Adonai, כי כמוך נהדר בקודש, כי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה אדוני, ימלוך לעולם ועד. מלכותך ראו בניך, חוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זרי עלו ואמרו, זרי עלו ואמרו אדוני, ימלוך לעולם ועד. יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה.
On page 43, our prayers remind us that we are called to see each other at this time of year as we do throughout the year, with hope, with goodness, with joy. One of the things that I love about this time of year is that people greet each other. There's fights about what phrase we should use. I actually like saying Merry Christmas to others because I mean it. I really do want people to have a Merry Christmas. But if I don't know their holiday tradition or their faith, I just say Happy Holidays. What I find is that that little greeting this time of year goes a long way. It makes the other person smile, and there's something to be said for that. So the trick is to do that same thing the other 11 months. How can we greet each other? How can we do something as simple as just smiling at one another and saying hello and meaning some level of kindness? It almost seems so silly to even mention the idea. But the reality is, for 1 month a year, we're good at it. And for 11, we kind of stink. So this time, this year, let's enjoy this month, but let's try to carry it through. Let's bring it into January and February and March and turn to the person when you see them walking down the street or when you're turning the aisle at Giant Eagle or wherever it is and smile and say hello. And watch them react and see what they do. And if it's somebody from here, you know exactly how they'll react. They'll say, oh, you were awake in the rabbi's sermon at that point. You remember. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. God, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue on page 44.
This is a new melody for all those of us here. This is written by a friend of mine named Cantor Abby Gostein, who's out of Austin, Texas. It's a joyful but mysterious melody, so just follow along with me. It's really fun.
we turn the page and invite everyone to rise in body or spirit as we join together on 46 in the evening tefillah.
Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol v'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magin Avraham V'Zerat Saram Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayi HaKol atah Rav Lehoshia Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem Mechakel Chayim Bechesed Mechayi HaKol Berachamim Rabim Sobech Nofelim V'Rofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Bichamocha Ba'al Givurot Umido Melach Melech Meimit Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'emanat al hachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hakol Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh U'kidoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el hakadosh.
We continue silently now through page 63, including both the prayers of the prayer book and the prayers of our own hearts. Please be seated at your own pace. page 62.
say shalom, Imroma. Oh, say shalom, Imroma. Oh, say shalom. Say shalom bimroma, huya say shalom aleinu. Oh say shalom bimroma, huya say shalom. Try that with me. Oh say shalom bimroma, huya say shalom aleinu. Oh say shalom bimroma, huya say shalom one more time. Oh say shalom bimroma, huya say shalom aleinu. Oh say shalom bimroma, huya say shalom.
We turn ahead in our prayer books now to page 253, where we'll join together in the Mishnah Berach prayer, prayer for healing. As a congregation on this Shabbat, we especially pray for Alex Botkin, David Eisenman, Judith Kovach, Carol Millian, Ira Berezovsky, Michael L., Carol S., Judy Schneider, Ron Falk, Jonah Hart, Claire Meehan, Murray Reinwald, Kat Winslow, Noah Robbins, Tina Smith, Ed Goldston, Roz Richmond, Natalie Rosenblum, Stanley W., Annabelle J., Selma Rive, Rose D., Molly, Betty Jean Mervis, Howard Marcus, Kit Dombrowski, Leah Bat-Miriam, Donald Royster, Patty Amato, Jen Forsyth. If there are other names to mention, I invite you to rise now and as our eyes meet to say the names of those friends or loved ones out loud. We join together in the middle of page 253.
The ones before was in need of healing. With breath he washed him up. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rofeh hacholim. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, healer of the sick. And now some moments to share good things, birthdays, anniversaries. Somebody's got to have something good to share. Anybody have a daughter visiting in from out of town?
Well, my auntie Carrie had a successful surgery. So yeah, surgery.
Good. Is she healing?
Yes.
Good. Good to hear it. Who else has something? Uh-oh, Lizzie, you have something?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yep.
What is it, Lizzie?
It's that Dad's birthday is on Sunday.
It's whose birthday on Sunday?
Dad.
Dad's birthday on Sunday?
Yeah.
Whose dad? My dad?
No. You are gonna have a birthday.
I'm going to have a birthday?
Yeah.
I am?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
How old am I going to be?
50.
What?
That's not what I can tell.
What you talking about? I'm going to be 50?
No. Yeah.
Am I really going to be 50?
Yeah.
Yeah? Are you sure?
Yeah, it's your birthday.
It's my birthday
Yeah.
on Sunday?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be 50.
Yeah, we're gonna have your birthday.
We're going to have my birthday. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. I'm not.
I know, Lizzie.
Anita.
Today, my youngest son had a surgery in Cleveland Clinic where they removed, I don't know how much, but it's 150 worth of skin. He lost 150 pounds.
Wow.
And he's already talking and standing and eating and drinking,
Nice.
and
Good.
it was success.
Good.
I'm
I hesitate giving you a
I
microphone.
know. I'm going to embarrass Jenny Danger because it is her birthday, but she's not going to speak up for herself.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Jan, nothing?
Our daughter Sarah is in town, so I'm really excited about that.
She looks really happy to be here.
I'm very happy.
She looks so happy to be squeezed by her mother right this moment.
Once again, I said this last time I was here at services, but another group of my middle schoolers is performing their original plays this week, and another group of my middle schoolers performed their original plays last week. So I'm very proud.
Nice. Pass it down that way.
I graduate from the University of Pittsburgh this week.
Very nice. Mazel tov.
Congratulations.
Then what?
Grad school.
In what?
Master's of Library Science.
Cool. What section would I find books about insects?
No idea.
The one about insects.
Who- Danny, you want to say something about Ariel being back? Some friend.
My favorite person in the world, Ariel B. Feldman, moved back to Pittsburgh.
Welcome back. There are two of you. And it got very confusing. Who else has something good? Anybody else have something good to share? How come they didn't pick on you and how old you're turning this time? How come I'm the one who got picked up?
Next weekend, my mother is living a dream. My 90-year-old mother is living a dream, driving, flying on her own to New York City to meet my son, who's 19, and going to the opera at Lincoln Center.
Cool. Very nice.
One more thing, besides it being my birthday, next week I'll be going to California for my son's wedding.
Very nice. Mazel tov. You got something? Oh, you're...
Yeah, well, I officially joined the show, so
Welcome.
I'm now on the roster. Yeah,
Good.
so
It's good to have you.
glad to be here.
We're thrilled to have you. What's the special at the restaurant tonight? All right, let us sing.
So if you were here on Saturday night, you got to hear Alan Goodes, and this is the encore of the song that he performed with a bunch of our students. If you weren't here, you get to learn it now. It's an awesome song that he wrote with students, with campers at the URJ Eisner camp in 2018.
Ooh, can I add 2 more good news things here?
Yeah.
Lenore Wasidlo writes in that her older son will be 30 on December 14th. And Micah Lieberthal writes that she's joining the JCC non-competitive swim team. So can you cheer her on if it's non-competitive? Can you say swim faster? We're going to make sure she gets lots of cheers. All right, let us sing.
It's like this. I've got the power. I've got the tough. I am daring enough to be heard. If you were up here on Saturday, sing out there. I've got the grit. I've got the spark. It's on your song sheet. I am a light when the world gets dark. Stand up. Go be courageous, be strong, make it contagious, don't stop. You got the fight. Stand up, go be courageous, be strong, make it contagious, don't stop. You got the fight. We'll band together. We'll heed the call. We are relentless. We won't fall. We'll break the ceiling. We'll touch the sky. They'll clip our wings and we still fly. Stand up. Go be courageous. Be strong. Make it contagious. Don't stop. You got the fight. Stand up. Go be courageous. Be strong. Make it contagious. Don't stop. You got the fight. Chazak ve'ematz. Chazak ve'ematz. Al ta'arotz ve'al te'chat. Chazak ve'ematz. Al ta'arotz ve'al te'chat. One more time. Chazak ve'ematz. Al ta'arotz ve'al te'chat. Chazak ve'ematz. Al ta'arotz ve'al te'chat. Stand up. Go be courageous, be strong, make it contagious, don't stop. You've got the fight. Stand up, go be courageous, be strong, make it contagious, don't stop. You got the fight. One more time. Stand up, go be courageous, be strong, make it contagious, don't stop. You got the fight.
Shabbat Shalom. With a little bit of luck, by this time next week, all of the information for our Temples Israel trip will be live. I'm hopeful because I've been saying that for a while, but I think we're there. There have been a couple of really fascinating questions to answer and to address when it came to building this trip. For years, I've led Israel trips, and for years, Temple Sinai has had Israel trips. I've always liked to include, when I lead trips, conversations with Palestinians. I've always liked to encourage our people to engage in dialogue and discussion, to learn from their vantage point what they see. I've also wanted to experience different parts of Israel, so we make sure to visit the Druze and to visit a kibbutz and spend time on a kibbutz. All of those things are normal sorts of parts of a trip. Some do more, some do less, whatever. The interesting challenge is, this time, has been talking about the Israeli political scene. It used to be that you could say, I'd like to speak with somebody who's a centrist, and there was no shortage of those. It used to be you could say, I want somebody center left and center right to be able to talk together and have a dialogue. That's become harder. And now, particularly, given the new government that is being established and being put in place, there are real risks to Israeli democracy, which make the conversation about Israeli government far, far more tenuous. And so the question now isn't so much, why does this group of Jews see it this way and this group of Jews see it that way? It is, can Israel as a democracy survive? And how do we work through that? And how do we understand what it means when you've got a guy like Smotrich who's in charge of the settlements? And what does it mean when you've got a guy like Ben Gvir who's in charge of the police? And how can we have a state? How can we have a democratic state when we've got these wildly idealistic hardliners in positions of power? It creates a very complicated scenario for them. And for Americans coming to visit and to learn, it makes it extraordinarily complex, far more complex than you can understand in an hour or 2 hour dialogue that you have together somewhere along the way on a trip. In years past, when I asked to have a meeting with a centrist or to meet with somebody who was a member of the Knesset, it was not a hard thing. We did it. The hard part now isn't so much that it's hard to ask for that. It's easy to ask for it. And there's no shortage of people who are willing to talk. The trick is to find somebody who's actually in the middle. The trick is to find somebody who can explain cogently why this one's view actually makes sense for the Jewish people and why that one's view also makes sense. That is to say, somebody who can see truth in multiple places. That becomes a very, very tall order today. And so that's actually the last piece we're waiting on putting together this trip, is what kind of political dialogue are we going to have on the course of that trip? And we've been debating, do we bring in this speaker, do we bring in that speaker? And to be honest, I'm not sure how it's going to resolve itself, other than to say, we will figure this out and we'll make sure that multiple voices get heard. That complication of trying to understand this pole and that pole at the same time is nothing new for us as Jews. In fact, this week's Torah portion has a section where we deal with this in among the most difficult, painful possible scenarios. We have the story of Dinah. Now, Dinah is the daughter of Jacob and Leah. She is not a daughter of the most favored mother, but also not of the least favored. She is somewhere in the middle. Anita Diamond writes wonderfully about what she could have been thinking and what she could have experienced. Our tradition wrestles every which way. The facts that we have, at least from the text, are fairly clear. She goes out to visit the town. She encounters a man named Shechem. Shechem has his way with her. He wants to marry her. He tries to make a deal with the Israelites. The Israelites say, okay. His people say, okay. As his people are healing from circumcision, which was part of the deal, the Israelites attack and kill them all. It's not exactly a comfortable dialogue to have. Those facts we can agree on. What we can't agree on is who's the guilty party. What we can't agree on is who got what they deserved and who didn't. And our sages, our commentators throughout history can't decide on this either. Dinah, after all, in our own tradition, is sometimes portrayed as the victim of a rape, and at other times portrayed as just a wild child who was off having fun on the town. Those are wildly different views. Wildly different views. And yet our tradition embraces both. As it happens, my maternal grandmother's first name was Dina. Jacob is Jacob David, named after her. When I would ask my grandmother Dina what it felt like for her to carry that name, she would smile and say, I was the wild one. I had fun when I was young. And, after shuddering a little bit thinking about that with my grandmother, I realized it was fascinating that she had so clearly bought into one end of that story. It is so easy to see Dina as the victim, that Dina did nothing wrong. Our text seems to indicate that she didn't do anything wrong, but our commentators, our sages, the rabbis from generation to generation do everything they can to try and fix it, to try and change it, to try and massage it. They never get there, but they try. Then there's the question of how her brothers react. Her brothers sort of lukewarmly, I don't know what the right phrase is there, with a lukewarm style, agree to this deal with Shechem. And Shechem and his whole group of people go through circumcision, and yet the brothers decide, nope, enough's enough, and they go out and kill them all and take revenge for their sister. But we never hear from Dina again. We don't know where Dina actually stood. We don't know if Dina actually felt like she was raped, or if Dina felt and felt like a victim, or if Dina was actually in love with the guy and felt victimized by her brothers. We know that the sons continue to behave in ways that make you question their stability. I think that's a nice way of phrasing it. They are part of the group, after all, who a couple weeks from now will go after Joseph. And whether they go after to have Joseph killed or just to have Joseph maltreated doesn't matter. There is some difficulty with these brothers. Shimon and Levi are the two who are most responsible here. Do I have it wrong? Do I translate that one? Right. 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 They are wild boys. Right, so what our sages try to do to make those sons look better, they do backflips. Right, they do all sorts of moves to try and make the sons look less bloodthirsty and to make women be more controlled. I mean, it's the opposite of what we would believe today. It's the polar opposite of our sense of ethics and morality living in 2022. But the problem of who do you believe, which truth, this one or that one, is the same as this question of how do I discuss Israeli politics in a modern sense. I've got one set of facts, but I've got so many interpretations of those facts. What do I do with it? Who do I listen to? How do I listen to them? Do I give both the same platform? Do I welcome in this side and that side? God help me, do I say there are good people on both sides? It's a fair question. How do we deal with these kinds of differences? I can't in good conscience today, as a rabbi or as a human or as a Jew or as a historian or anything else, tell you that I think that there are good people on both sides of the current Israeli political divide. I just don't buy it. I can't say it. So how do I bring in that voice that I can't say is good to have people encounter it? On the other hand, how can I avoid it? How do I say we can't talk about it? How do I say we've got to leave it alone? How do I get into a conversation with Dina and not talk about the fact that she was taken advantage of? Whether she wanted to or not, she didn't give full consent. That's the fact. How do I talk about Shechem and he trying to make a deal and he trying to do what he thought was the right thing? How do I talk about Shimon and Levi, who thought they were making the right deal and then decided to flip and turn the other way and instead unleash this period of terror on these people? How do I balance these competing things when it's not just one group versus another, where it's truly good and evil, where it's truly life and death? How do we find a way to balance those two? This then is the challenge. And the answer, of course, is it's impossible. Perfection isn't our goal. Progress is our goal. And in a sense, the wrestling match that occurs at another point in the Torah portion makes this case. Jacob wrestles with God and emerges the next morning with a busted hip. And so Jacob limps the rest of his life. But in that moment, in that wrestling that takes place, our tradition teaches us we have an obligation to enter the arena. That we Jews are called to question. We are called to argue. We are called to explore. We are called to investigate. We are called to continually ask questions, to live in the nuance, to live in the gray, to live in the unknown, to be, as Spinoza used to say, pursuing it. Somebody asked Spinoza, the great philosopher, once, "Are you an observant Jew?" And he said, "Well, I'm working on it." It was an honest answer. And in a sense, it's precisely how we answer these same questions. The answer is we keep wrestling. We keep looking for the truth. And in a sense, that's the secret of our existence. It's that we as a people embrace multiple questions. We embrace multiple understandings. We say to the child learning, yes, what you have to say is important, and you're teaching us something new. And we say to the person who has lived for 9 decades, almost 10, yes, what you're saying is also new and also important. And we say to the one who has never explored any of this, we want to listen to you, just as much as we listen to the person who has spent their whole life exploring this. Ours is a tradition of equality that says everybody's voice counts. Everybody's voice is needed. And it doesn't matter what you actually believe or what you actually believe. The question is, are you pursuing more? Are you continuing to learn? Are you growing? Are you adding to your base of knowledge? That's what our tradition calls us to do. So even though Dinah is a difficult story, even though rape is a painful subject, we must sit down and wrestle with it. Even though the modern state of Israel, and I don't mean to compare modern Israeli politics with rape, even as complicated as the modern state of Israel may be, we can't pull back. We cannot afford to stay back and say, nope, not going to get into that discussion. In fact, on the contrary, we've got to engage more. We've got to figure out what Dinah was trying to figure out. What is it about those people? What is it about this one that says it's mine and this one that says it's mine? How do we interact with the person with whom we disagree? How do we interact with the person with whom we despise? How do we interact with the person who harms us? How do we interact with the person whom we harm? This is the call of being a Jew in the modern world. It is to embrace the questions. It is to embrace the wrestling match. It is to embrace the arena and to say, when we sit down together and think things through and talk and understand and explore, God dwells with us. That's what we're called to do. So I can't tie it up with a bow and make it all look nice. But I can say, as a community, what we do here is on the right path. We explore together. We ask questions together. We cajole each other. We push each other. We even push each other's buttons once in a while. Right, Lynn? Never. Say that with a straight face facing the ark. Go ahead. Go right ahead. This is the heart of what it means to be a Jew. It is to get into that discussion and that debate and to listen to somebody else and to struggle with the hardest questions imaginable. That's what we're called to do. And so I hope this Shabbat is a Shabbat not just of peace and relaxation, of Shabbat Menucha, but also a Shabbat of wrestling on some level, a Shabbat of exploring, a Shabbat of asking questions, a Shabbat of wondering why. Shabbat Shalom. We have a number of activities going on at the temple that I want to make sure you are aware of. Tomorrow morning, of course, we have Torah study at 8:30 and services at 9:15. At 5:45, our youth groups will be meeting here at the temple at 5:45 to head over to PPG Arena to see the Penguins play, and they'll be riding the public buses there and back, which is a great thing. On Sunday, next door is in session. If you would like to cantillate, you can do so with the cantor. 12:30, right? You have to be in the class. He's got tough rules. Can you do a pazer? We'll get there. Monday the 12th, the Brotherhood is having their monthly Brotherhood lunch at Square Cafe at 12 noon. And at 6 o'clock, Watts is having a year of spices. Monday night's spice is paprika. And so you'll be taught how to use paprika and make a meal to eat together. And then at 7:30, the Neshama Center will be meeting. Tuesday, 12 o'clock Talmud class. And the office will be closing early at 3:30 for a staff holiday party. Not sure what that's going to be like, but we'll see. On Wednesday the 14th, Parshat HaShavua at noon, our book group is meeting at 1:15 to discuss The Lost Shtetl by Max Gross, which is a fun read. It is the story of a shtetl that gets lost and forgotten about during World War II and keeps going and only discovered in much more modern times, and what it would be like for the people of the shtetl to come back into the modern world all of a sudden. It's a fun read. I encourage you to join us. Even if you haven't read the book, you can come to the class Wednesday at 1:15. Hebrew School with Asefah is at 4:30. And at 5:30, we have a special program. Our Shinshinim, our Israeli ambassadors, are putting on a program to celebrate Israeli culture, food, dance, art, music, lots of fun things. Bar Levi, who has been our Shinshinim in the school this fall and who has been wonderful, is putting this together, and we hope you can join us. And the choir is rehearsing at 7:30. We have evening meditation at 6 as well. If you're coming to the Israeli event, it is free, but please do register in advance on the website. Friday the 16th, downtown lunch group will take place at 12 noon. I will be there, and I don't even remember whose office it's being held. I want to say David Pollock's office. I think that's where it is this month. And then next Friday evening, Tat Shabbat at 5:30, and our regular Shabbat service at 7 o'clock. Our thanks to, pardon? It says 5:30 up here. Oh, Tat Shabbat social hour starts at 5. And the service at 5:30. Our thanks to Philip and Marcia Baumfeld, who have been our greeters this evening. I hope everybody was warmly welcomed, and we'll say Shabbat Shalom to them right back. We're thrilled to have you here and to have you as greeters this evening. We turn back to our prayer books now to page 282. We rise in body or spirit for Aleinu L'Shabeach.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו הוא אחד.
Please be seated. We pause now to think of those who came before us, those who gave us life, those with whom we shared life, those who gathered together to create this community and this congregation. As a congregation, we recall those whose yortzeit occurs in the coming days: Michael Alexander, Sion Arbib, Tilly Bleckman, Alvin Bodek, Meyer Bregman, Ethel Briskin, Alan J. Kaplan, Ruth Davidson, Esther Julia Edelstein, Leo Elikan, Randall Enger, Thelma Finkelstein, Sidney Freilich, Victoria Gandelsman, Sarah Garfinkel, Ivan Goldberg, Rose Grossman, Harry Harris, Philip Hoffman, Lillian Solo Holstein, Lee Kaiser, Simon Kelman, Sylvia Rudolph Klein, Elaine Lanny Kosberg, Henry Kramer, Lloyd Joseph Kudrick, Wilbur Leibovitz, Mo Losky, Louis Lichtenstein, Annette Liptz, Josephine Felser Marcus, Carol McAllister, Ruth Mendelson, Morris Molans, Beatrice Nelson, Helen Posner, Stanley Ranka, Joseph Ratner, Jacob Rosenblatt, Aaron David Rosenson, Corinne Schwartz Rothenberg, Estelle Tauberg Rosenthal, Sigmund Rosenwasser, Augusta Rubin, Arnold Ruttenberg, Hannah B. Shine, Judge Nathan Schwartz, Harry Schwartz, Rose Salo, Lena Steiner, Deborah Warren, Yetta Weinberg, William Weisblatt. And to those names, we add the names of those taken from us only in recent weeks: Eileen Ruttenberg, Cantor Guy Bonet, and Timothy Braggins. We join together as we rise in body and spirit on page 294 for the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala v'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam lamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei dekudasha b'richu, Ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, da miran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May God grant comfort to all the bereaved among us, and together we say, amen. We're going to try something slightly different tonight. We invite you to join us for Kiddush and Motzi in the auditorium. So we'll join together for one last song, one last prayer, and then we'll go together into the auditorium, and in there we'll join together in the words of Kiddush and Motzi so that we can all do it together. But for now, we're on page 330.
Shabbat el yishmereinu, yishmera Shabbat el yishmereinu, oti le'obead eno ve'ni, oti le'obead ve'no ve'ni. Yishmera Shabbat el yishmereinu, yishmera Shabbat el yishmereinu, oti le'obead eno ve'ni, oti le'obead ve'no ve'ni.
Shabbat Shalom. Join us for Kiddush and Motzi.